Good invitation.
All right. So here we are. We're starting then. And welcome everyone to the first Nestr community gathering, which is very exciting for us. Uh, we are in this process of building a community from this from the many users that are arriving, starting using your app. And we kind of relaunched Nestr, and Joost is going to talk more about that in a few more minutes. But we launched Nestr this year, and we are very happy to see the growth of users. We are over 1,000 registered users already, and more than 500 monthly active users.
More
So
than
it's
600
quite
even.
more than 600, yeah. So it's very exciting to see all this activity, and um, we're receiving a lot of feedback. And yeah, we wanted to celebrate this time because it's very important for us, and also to mention that we really want to have a community. It's not just a service, an impersonal service, but we want to have the people using the tool to talk to each other and learn from each other, and so we can enjoy this together and grow, because even though we do have a support chat where you can answer your questions, we want to have a place where people can start gathering and learning. And yeah, so this is what this is all about. And um, I am Julio, as you probably know, everyone here already knows. And I've been at Nestr since last year, and I do development, so, and also crypto research and uh, community building sometimes as well. And so actually at Nestr, we use Nestr, and I have many roles in my Nestr circles. And actually, let me share that with you. So the Nestr circle is actually visible, and even you should be able to access it from your Nestr account. Mm, my my version is in Portuguese because that Nestr is translated to other languages. For now, English, uh, Dutch, and Portuguese. But if you go to explore in your Nestr, you should be able to see Nestr, and then you see everyone that's on the organization. And we have the GCC, the General Company Circle. This is where we do the operational work, and you can see all the roles on governance, under governance, and roles. And you can see who is assigned currently or working at each of the roles. So yeah, so I'm on crypto researcher role and developer. Actually, I'm also the facilitator for that circle, and RepLink, if you know a bit of Blackrsy. And so, yeah, you can really take a look at our structure. We have some of the Nestr partners here with us today. And yeah, it's exciting. I would like to give voice to all of the partners, but the intention for this opening is to have a quick recap of what we have been up to, and talking about the future and what we visualize for the evolution of Nestr. So I would like to invite Joost, one of the founders and currently the circle lead for the GCC. So, and to share a bit about the future of Nestr, and where we're heading. So welcome, Joost. And
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Julio. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for those that are joining here, and hopefully, perhaps those that are watching the recording later. My goal right now is just to have a quick 20 minutes, or maybe I'll do it a bit quicker, so that we can catch up with our time schedule. To recap kind of what we've done, I want to really start with why does Nestr actually exist, so that we can really frame it around our purpose. Then what have we done over the last year, and what does next year look like for us, hopefully or probably. And I will do that. I will share my screen. Give me 1 second. There. Oh, we need to do a share. There. Oh, no, not share. That's the wrong one. I mean, slideshow. That button, wrong button. Radio. So here, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just to mention that if people have questions during this talk, we have an app for capturing the questions, and we'll have a Q&A later. So if you want to type your questions, please use the link that I'm going to provide in the chat. So then Joost can answer the questions, or anyone can answer the questions after this presentation, okay? The link is on the chat. Thanks. Sorry for interrupting.
No worries. Well, wonderful. Right, so this is what I outlined. I quickly want to take you guys through a Nestr product update. So why does Nestr exist? Framing, what have we done? Where are we going next? Quickly, the why, and I think this is crucially important for any purpose-driven organization, right? So, and actually over the year, this has gotten a bit clearer for us why we exist, and that's really rooted in that no single person or organization can tackle the problems of our time by themselves. Right, so all of us will sense the urgency of the wicked problems that we are faced with in the world, and the realization this is not going to be solved by one company or even one state. So both organizations and communities are actually embracing the concepts of decentralization, yet our tools of today are not fit for purpose. We need to actually have tooling that follows this paradigm shift. They're not quite available. This is why Nestr exists. There, next slide. And then the solution is to create an environment in which people can express their values in organizations that express their purposes, right? By means of decentralized collaboration. Now, this, for most of you, will be not new, but I think it's really important to reiterate that this is why we exist. We need to be able to come together as collectives to do work together in other ways than management hierarchy. The other thing that is really wonderful over the last year, we got real clarity around who it is that we're actually serving. And what we've identified is really two main areas, two kind of personas, as you will, that we're serving, and we're creating more clarity with this as we speak. Actually, we just invited Christina here to help us get more clarity on what they look like. But roughly, those are organizations, and usually these are just companies that are self-organized to some extent. That is a common case of users and businesses that we serve. And on the other side, we have decentralized communities and ecosystems. So these are grassroots endeavors of collectives and people that come together that want to do something together, but usually struggle to get it done. And those are what we are serving as well. And we actually find that those are the two main groups that we're serving, and we're currently actually having those groups. And actually, I see with the guys with Gaia Net are nicely fitting within one of those. Right, and I'm just going to quickly run you through what did we do in 2022, just by kind of what we built to celebrate that we have actually managed to do quite a lot. First, we started the year by building a wizard to help people actually set up their workspaces aligned with how they are working, right? So to help you figure out, hey, are you using sociocracy, holacracy, or self-organization? Are you a DAO? Well, you probably know the wizard, but it wasn't there before. So we built that to support you in your onboarding journey. We moved all the features in apps, so you can really turn on and off what is useful for you. And I think especially the turning off is really, really key, because otherwise there's a lot of overwhelm in the feature set that we have available. We are integrating with DAOs. Big celebration to Julio that built this for us, so that we actually, if you have a DAO that you are working with, we scrape it and you can load it into Nestr, enrich and annotate that information, and start collaborating on top of the proposals that live in the DAO. We're going to continue building on that, but we already have an integration with currently 3 different DAO stacks. We built a Discord bot, so where you can actually use Nestr in your Discord. If you use Discord as a communication channel, and for example, use the command we've had a discussion about design. Who's actually accountable for this? So rather than an endless debate where all opinions are heaped in one massive thread that never ends, you can actually figure out, okay, now we've got the information, who's accountable, who needs to make a decision. And this is really where I think Nestr is going to shine, is to bring governance and accountability to operation. We introduced the feed, so we brought the communication channels into Nestr as well. And this really aligns with what I was talking about before. For shared agreements and governance to come alive, they need to start to show up in where we collaborate. So we have to actually have ways to start combining them. And we're supporting that by meeting you where you are, in your Slack, in your Discord, but also by offering those tools within Nestr. We're going to continue building on the feed. Another really important thing about the feed is that it's contextualized, right? So each circle has their own feed where they can create their channels, because what you're probably aware of if you use Discord or Slack is that it really quickly overwhelms. So what we're doing by making this available within your circles, so that you can really focus on the conversations that are important for you. Again, we're going to continue building on this. Languages. Actually, big shout out to Floris, who helped us with improving the Dutch translation. So woohoo! Big shout out to Julio working on the Portuguese. So we can continue building on this, but how awesome, we're already supporting these. And really exciting, we actually have about close to half of our users are currently in Brazil. So that's an interesting, wonderful niche for us. We're integrating with Google and Microsoft. So not only can you sign up and log in with those accounts, but we've also built a tool so that if you log in from a certain domain, that's instantly you become a member in a specific workspace, so that there's a really automatic sign up and joining of your peers in certain workspaces. We added a new feedback form. So we already have a feedback app. I'm not quite sure if everybody's aware of that. So you can give and receive feedback, but we added a new format where you can use the keep, stop, start feedback form, and then you can actually request feedback from one of your peers or provide feedback to one of your peers. It's available to all workspaces already. All you need to do is turn it on. Have a play with it. It's quite wonderful. Notifications. We now allow direct email notifications on whenever you mention someone in one of the comments. You can, that also works for like an @ circle or @ everyone mention, so that you can really stay on top of your conversations. We're going to build that out to have a daily digest as well, because it might get a bit overwhelming if you get an email on every mention. Right, now we've done a bunch more, but these are really quickly the highlights of what we've done, and it also highlights the focus we've had. So I'm just going to quickly continue talking about that for 1 second. Our focus has really been on the top end of the user journey, right? So when you enter into Nestr, supporting you in understanding the product and really starting to play with it. 2023 for us is all going to be about furthering the product deeper into the product itself. So to really make it a more finesse product that supports the needs of those that are currently using it. So what I've outlined here is not necessarily what we're going to do, but what we currently think we'll be prioritizing over 2023. This is constantly changing, so bear with us, but it'll give you an idea. And quickly, from a high strategic perspective, we're going to be focusing on these parts, on simplifying the UI. You still find that it can be a bit confusing, and people can get disorientated in the UI at times. We're going to focusing on collaboration, and collaboration. We really need to be able to do the work together, and that the tools should support you in the pursuit of that work, in pursuit of purpose. And then integrations, right? So meeting the users where they're already at. So if you're using Teams, if you're using Slack, if you're using Discord, or whatever tools that might be, we don't want to pull you away from that. I think the new paradigm of working is not to compete with these tools, but to integrate, really support you what is already working for you, and show up there with the extra tools that we have to offer. And then one thing, and I think that's kind of the term I keep coming back to, is operationalizing governance. Right. So if we don't have centralized authority that dictates what needs to happen, or that can tell that party is wrong, that party is right, we really need to make sure that our governance is going to be helping us making decisions. What you often see in initiatives is that governance is a game you play when you do a governance meeting, or you design your structure, and then you move to do your work, and all sorts of informal hierarchies show up again, and the governance is not actually used. So if we really want to start scaling our decentralized, self-organized entities, we need to operationalize governance, and that is what Nestr is here to do. Now, that's a really poor way to sell the product outside of the bubble that already knows what this is about, but I think internally this is really what we're about. What does that look like? Just quickly, so from a UI perspective, we're looking at an UX UI overhaul to really simplifying the navigation, so people always know where they're at, and don't have that sense of, geez, what am I looking at today, right now? We already have some work done on working with a right pane, right? So that if you click on a role, that you don't just move to a new screen, but a pane shows up showing you the role. So you stay within the same place. You're not lost. And actually, or when you're on a project board, you look on the project, a right pane shows up that shows you the project information. So you stay on one view. Integrating a couple of things that are quite similar. So throughout the interface, you see things like tensions, the inbox, and to-dos. They're actually quite similar in what they're trying to do. So to actually integrate them so it becomes simpler. The how, bear with me, we'll dive into that over the year. Showing profile pictures in the circle navigation, right? So to really bring alive that circle navigation that shows up, so you can really see where am I and who I'm actually dealing with, so that circle navigation really comes alive, and you start to recognize your peers. And visualize the people context. Right? So right now, when you look at the circle of your organization, you see the structure of the circles and the roles, but there's no concrete container for where the people show up, and that is really crucial if you know anything around self-organization. And we want to start to visualize that, so that there really is an anchor for where do the people show up and how do we work there. Integrations, so I touched upon this just quickly. So build out what we've already done with Discord, bring that to Slack and Teams. We're currently exploring an integration with Murmur. It's a wonderful tool for asynchronous consent decision making, set up by Aaron Dignan. Nice tool, and we're looking for integration. And there too, that's interesting, right? Because we could see Murmur as a competitor. Murmur could see us as a competitor, but we both love what we're doing, so we say let's integrate. So I think that's really the new way of supporting a decentralized world and coming together. And the integration with MetaMask is going to be crucial, right? So that you can actually deepen that integration with DAOs, and not only scrape what's happening in a DAO and visualize it in Nestr, but also start pushing that. And also showing you, hey, what have I actually earned? What are my token holdings from these DAOs? So start to show you a bit of an accounting there. What am I doing for time, by the way? I'm doing pretty good. From a governance perspective, we're going to improve sociocracy support. So we're actually currently speaking with some of the people from Sociocracy for All. What do they need? What would they really need in the tool? Because currently we really come from a holacracy background. That's just one flavor of how to self-organize. It's wonderful, but from Nestr's perspective, we don't want to dictate what self-organization looks like. We want to support all self-organization efforts out there. So sociocracy is a massive part of what that looks like. So we want to support that, plus more flavors of it, right? And that's really what you start to see in the apps for your workspace that you can turn on and off. And you just, so our users can really start playing with what works for them rather than us saying, this is how you should do it. Customizable meeting formats, right? So that we don't necessarily say this is how the meeting needs to run, but you can just add parts to it and start changing that around. And asynchronous consent decision making, right? So currently we actually offer you putting up a proposal and you can say bring that to a meeting, or I have no objection, but to really start to offer the option to say, hey, to add an asynchronous question round or an asynchronous reaction round. So you can really start to integrate, especially that gets important for decentralized organizations across many time zones, where scheduling a meeting is really hard. Nestr is one of them. We work in, I think, 4 time zones. It gets quite tricky. Collaboration. So there's a whole heap of things we can do here. I just want to touch upon a couple of them. Improve support for notes and publishing. Think something like Notion, where you can currently you can actually keep notes. They're a little bit cumbersome and you can't publish them to those that don't have access to it. But to really make that a bit easier, also beyond just using the feed. Publishing the work publicly, right? So currently you can publish your governance records for the world to see. Some organizations really want to be fully transparent for the entire world to see also the work that they're doing and everything that they're publishing. So just making that possible. And decentralized project management. And I think we need to probably find a different word for that. Because project management is really anchored and rooted in the ideas of conventional management hierarchy, but we need something like that. And we've got some really elegant and interesting starting points in how we deal with our Tensions app, but really building that out, right? So what does it look like if you run a bigger project across multiple roles without necessarily having centralized authority driving the entire thing? There's some really interesting things you can do with tension chains. But I just want to call it out. I'm excited about that one. And recruitment, that's really a big one, right? So that I see that as the big milestone for 2023 is to offer, so to publish open projects and roles and search and apply for open projects and roles. This is going to be massive because if we want to match value-driven people with purpose-driven work, we need to actually be able for them to find each other. And that's and also I think recruitment here too is a term very much rooted in the old world, but everybody knows what I'm talking about, so that's why I'm using it. But it's going to look different than just applying for a job, because I think we'll pretty soon all just be working from a portfolio of roles or portfolio of projects, and Nestr wants to be the tool that just shows you that entire portfolio for you as a person, and also then you can zoom into the organizations where you're doing the work. And one other side note I want to call out there, as part of that, we want to be able to offer like self-organization experts that can come and do a project within a workspace that needs help around how to self-organize. Right, I think that's a really crucial part. Again, looking at the wonderful people from GaiaNet, you know, like how wonderful would it be for you guys to show up? Hey, here's a workspace organization that needs some of the support that you guys can offer. And obviously there's many people in our network that can do that sort of work, also from all the different flavors, holacracy, sociocracy, wonderful, let's celebrate all. And I think that's my little spiel. Now, I hope I wasn't talking too fast, because I have a tendency to talk fast when I get excited. But maybe I'll wrap it up here on where did we come from and where are we going. And I'd love to explore more in our Q&A session if that triggered any questions. Back to you, Julia.
Thank you, Joost. So we do have some questions already on the tool. And the invitation is to, if you haven't already, you can check the link and post some questions, as we have time now for what we call the Ask Me Anything questions and answers. So if you want to know anything about Nestr, what we do, how we organize, anything about the founders or about any one of the partners, and this is the space. So we have already 3 questions, and let me share. You can also thumbs up the questions that you like, and let me share the screen so you can see what we have right now. Yeah, so if you want to access the questions, the link is on the chat. And yeah, maybe we can start with this first one from Dan. Then if you have more questions, you can keep them coming. So you want to read the question, Dan, or to
Sure
talk
thing.
directly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see collaboration, and that's great. And I also see decentralization of work and decentralized project management, and all these tools and words are great. And collaborating with other organizations is very, very hard. And it has nothing to do with the tool we use, but with a wide variety of other things that we've been trying out. And I'm curious, how is Nestr intending to support overcoming obstacles of synergy within networks between organizations, such as you need to be aligned in your purpose, you need to have very clear meta agreements, but there's also something about, I don't know, are you open source, you want intellectual property? Actually, it gets very complicated when you go into the nitty-gritties of decentralized cross-collaboration between organizations. And I'm curious, what's your vision, and how does Nestr intend to improve or support these challenges? Of course, I can answer more details, but I think you know what I'm talking about. I think it's clear enough. So curious to hear.
I can try to speak to that. I think that the gist of the answer is I have no idea. And let's experiment. I have some hypotheses on what we could try. And also what you're touching upon, I think, is instantly the bleeding edge of what the decentralized challenges are. Like how, like within clear boundaries. And I think that's really there's a proven case to be made for using self-organization within clear boundaries, one single purpose. Let's go and run. Right, so that's pretty clear. The resources, the IP, it's all within those boundaries. Where it gets really tricky, and I think that's your question. What happens when you cross those boundaries? Then all of a sudden, you're looking at a Venn diagram where there's some overlap, but not 100%. And I really don't know what that looks like yet. We are actually currently, and perhaps Anna-Marie can speak to that as well. We're currently exploring exactly such a collaboration ourselves, where and the avenue that we are taking right now is in creating a crosslink within Nestr. You just set up a role that is set up as a crosslink where we invite the external party to come and represent the perspectives of that party within Nestr in pursuit of the purpose that is still within Nestr. But I also want to avoid getting into too deep the weeds of what that looks like. I think the gist is really all we can do is experiment. One other thing that I really want to call out is that we just had a hackathon, and I think I pointed it out earlier to you as well, Dan, is that we're going to allow for not only inviting members, having users as members, but to have other workspaces as members show up within one workspace. And where that is going to be useful is really to build out a community, right? So if a community can hold or an ecosystem can hold members as users, but also have organizations as its members. And that's one way where you can start to visualize alignment, right? So we have a common set of values, for example, that we show up. But beyond that, not specified, in all honesty.
Okay, I would really love to talk in more detail, since we just did a big experiment with 25 organizations and we facilitated tactical meetings for them, and we use Nestr to align. And we should talk a little more and see what ideas and insights you have for our next iteration, how we can support the development of Nestr, and vice versa, how we can blend the ecosystem more together. So I'll reach out to you on Telegram and send you a message, Joost, about this specific topic. We're ready now to talk more detail about this.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's exactly where we want to be. I think this is exactly why we want to build out this community, is that we can work together, because again, no single entity knows how this should be done. We really need to start to lean in and live into this idea of let's cooperate and experiment and learn together, because I sure as hell don't know what it's going to look like. I think that was a nice example of let's ask the most difficult question first.
Yeah. So maybe we can talk about this next question from Christine. It's actually to Dan. What do you think is the biggest challenge to start with for cross-org collaborations?
There is not one biggest challenge, I think. Well, the biggest challenge is to crack the code, right? Because the biggest challenge really is that this is nothing new. And what we have found in many conversations and looking back into the history, right? Looking back at who's tried this before us, and many have tried this since the 80s, I guess, with the work of the synergy engines and the physical hubs, and the work of Baron Marx Hubbard and our evolution. And many beautiful people have tried many beautiful things, and they haven't really made it happen. And there's a big question why that is. And I don't think it was only the technology. It's maybe, yeah, it's a bit of a vague answer, but it's the level of collective consciousness of what we are actually capable of doing on the planet right now, because of our programming and traumas and limiting beliefs, and because this is so novel and the niche is so small. So those are some of the meta reasons. And more concretely and practically, it's about uniting around a common purpose. It's about the transformation of the people participating, which is quite a job on its own, that people go through an internal transformation. And then it's about creating some kind of a pledge, some kind of an alliance that we feel really called in our hearts, really driven by our own purpose to unite. And then it's about very clear agreements. And it's about how resource sharing happens, and also how decisions are made. And yeah, it's really a combination of the structure, the operations, and the governance of how to do this at a larger scale. Yeah, I think, does that answer your question so far?
It does. I was hoping that we could start with like this one thing that would solve maybe 40–50% of the problem, but no. No, I'm looking forward to have like a separate session deep diving on this topic. Thanks,
Hit me
Dan.
up. If you want to talk more, we are super fascinated about this. This is our purpose of GaiaNet, to connect and unite all these people and to facilitate this network. So reach out.
So then there's another one from you about the recruitment tool. Do you want to talk about this or ask about this?
Sure.
Oh.
So the question is, I see you talk about a recruitment tool, and I'm curious, like, recruitment in a self-organizing system is also less evident than in a traditional organization where you just have a function and a job and a payroll and like, this is it. And you perform well, you stay, and you don't perform well, you get kicked out. It's really simple. But in self-organization, it's completely different. So I'm curious, it's very, very important to qualify the people coming into your organization, because they're required to have self-leadership, to express their tensions, but they also need to have like the emotional capacity to be transparent and honest, which is also not really straightforward for many people on our planet. So I'm curious, and maybe Alexander also has curiosities about this as the recruiter and team builder role within GaiaNet, but I'm personally curious about the qualifying of people entering into a self-organizing structure. It's essential, right? It's not like your traditional CV, your traditional interview that you do where you can put up 20 masks, hold them up for 6 months and still stay in the organization. You're not going to make it in a self-organizing structure because you will just be pushed out, right? If you don't step up and take care of your own needs. So basically, how do you qualify for the emotional maturity and the self-leadership of individuals entering into your organization? And does Nestr intend to support that in any way or form?
You don't do easy questions. And I love you for it. And I also like I start to answer, but I want to watch out not to just jump in and answer because I'm passionate about it, but perhaps there's other people that can answer this question as well.
You can start, then I can add something later if you want.
Because I like there's two things alive in me when I hear that question. One is really from a decentralized, self-organized enthusiast and have some experience there, and then from a product perspective, and they don't necessarily fully match. So maybe the first thing from a product perspective, it's going to be really hard to do that because it's about trust and skill. And I think that is rooted in human experience and assessment that a tool can facilitate a little bit, possibly, but it really is up to people and their trust networks to get that information, I think. What we can do, what we're playing with technically is allowing like badges and labeling of people that you can carry across different contexts, right? And this is peer reviewed, and we're also looking into pushing that back onto the blockchain, right? So that it is immutable. We know that that is true and it's verified. And still that's a technical solution, right? So, and if that is a few gradations removed from your own trust network, that gets tricky, but we can visualize that. So, hey, if somebody comes to me and I can see that Dan has verified them as trustworthy because he worked with them for 2 years, that is something we can visualize, and that's something we can show. So that's the area of features and functionality that we are thinking about adding. It's not version 1. Version 1 is, I've got work to be done, it's this project and I need some help. And then you can find it and you can say apply, and they say, good luck, go figure it out, guys. Do your own trust work. And then from that, we want to hear from you and learn how we can actually implement what I was just talking about.
Yeah, if I can, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've been doing things for recruitment, and I studied psychology a long time ago. And one thing that I have learned is that organizations, also for-profit organizations, have not really been able to make it work. There's always you hire people, you know, things happen that you didn't expect to happen. And one of the worst things that they are always trying to fix and never do is that they tend to hire themselves. And so I feel like if you're saying that if we would do nothing, it would actually mean that these people that are not fitting might be pushed out by themselves. Maybe that actually is a better mechanism than trying to like step in and try and like make some kind of questionnaire or something to just figure out where they come from. I don't know, I'm just thinking about it now, but
I really love that. I think there's a big part on leaning on people's capacity to assess trust and skill. Like I think, and if anything, visualizing that. But the knowledge and the decision has to be rooted in a human experience of trust and skill, not in a tool that has assessed that or figured it out one way. I think I'm just trying to echo what you were saying, Christine, in my own words, like something along those lines.
Yeah, I'd like to raise something about the culture and cultivating culture in the organization, because the hardest part about hiring is having people integrate with the culture, especially if there is a self-organization culture and people are not really used to this. It's not really about maturity, because at least in my perception, everyone has at some level some maturity to self-organize or to be autonomous, but they are not used to do this in the culture where they usually come from traditional organizations. So there has to be some kind of work, maybe badges around this, about how do you relate with self-organization, and not just work-related skills, but maybe culture-related skills as well, or so like intentional culture building could be part of this future recruitment. So it's not just about de facto skills, but actually being mindful of the culture. All right, so we can move to the next one. The next one is from, well, it's how and why was Nestr conceived initially? So talking a little bit more about the history, because Nestr wasn't born this year, and maybe if you could give us some overview of how it was conceived and what was the original purpose, that would be fun.
I don't remember what the original purpose was. I need to start digging for that. But it was conceived in 2016, I think it was. Was it 16, 15, Ollie?
15, I think.
Could be. So why it was conceived is I think exactly still the same problem that we're trying to solve today. To serve people, do work that creates an impact they genuinely care about. Right, so this idea of serving people to get clarity on what am I contributing to, so that you can actually start asking yourself, what should I do more of, what should I do less of? Not because I like the skills that I do or I necessarily like the people that I work with, but because of the impact it creates in the world. Because that was my frustration. It's been my frustration for a very long time, is that those questions are generally not asked when you're doing work. If you're lucky, you do work that you like doing. Very few people, unfortunately, many more today than a decade ago, but still very few ask themselves, what am I contributing to? And even if you don't like it, the world is set up in such a way that it's really hard to escape that, because jobs are an on-off sort of thing. And stepping out of your work and with it leaving your livelihood is really hard. So let's start building tooling that serve those that are showing up and contributing to a couple of purposes, have a purpose portfolio. Let's build tooling to serve that. Now, we were quite early with, one thing. So my background has been a developer for years, and I decided I do not want to develop. I had just came out of a freelancing job at a company where I worked with Oli and his brother Siggy. And Oli just resigned, and I had a big celebration because I thought, woohoo, he can join. I invited him, and he joined instantly. And I think a few months later, Siggy had so much FOMO that he resigned and also joined us. So I think that's the birth story. Maybe I'll quickly do the sidetrack. What happened afterwards? We were really building out a product, but I think we're also a bit prematurely. Like we got some traction, but not a whole lot. And we partnered up with, in a Holacracy conference in Amsterdam, we met some wonderful partners from China. We partnered up with them. They invested in our co-venture. And we pivoted to serve the Chinese market, which led to a wonderful 2 years serving the Chinese market, which was exhilarating, wonderful, and deeply confusing at times. And with the US trade war and COVID, the investment climate collapsed, and everything dried up. We parted ways with our partners on good terms. And at the start of this year, we reignited it because mostly it was because of DAOs. Pretty much, DAOs are really bringing decentralization to the mainstream, and I think now is the time to reignite this. I think the market is more ready for the message, and I think we're starting to see that traction indeed happening. So that's a real quick run through of what happened, and with it, of course, all these wonderful new people that you're seeing here that have joined Nestr since. We're now a team of 7, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot to celebrate this evolution, right?
Shit, yeah.
Next one from Dan. Has Nestr thought about an impact score for contributors in an organization in order to quantify contribution in the pursuit of purpose? Maybe Joost?
Yeah, I just leaving some silence. Otherwise, like I want to watch out not to just. But yeah, totally, and I'm really excited about it. And I also have not prioritized it because I think it's going to be really, really hard. But I'll just share some of my off the top of my head thoughts about it, and that's around. So I was talking about labeling people, right? So that you can label skills. But one of the ideas I would love to do and play with, and it's still somewhere in the back of my head, is creating value labels, right? So have a set of labels that are kind of uniform values that are curated by some collective, where you can say, yeah, these are my values, these are my top values, and then to start saying these are the values, these roles I express these values, but to start to do that in a peer review as well. Say, yes, I've seen this person express these values, so you have kind of a peer reviewed expression of how values are being expressed, and I think that's going to be really interesting. And I specifically like values over personal purpose, because personal purpose requires an interpretation, because it's usually a sentence, where values are more easy quantifiable, and you can just say, yes, I've seen that expression, or I support that expression, or actually, great that they say they express that, but I haven't quite seen it. Does that answer your question at all?
Mais ou menos, maybe I can add a little bit to why I asked the question, and that's about rewards and incentivizing people, and about how well you contribute to the organizational purpose, and not in an old format, but in a new format where it's dynamic. And depending on your performance, you get rewarded. So like at Encode, they have this purpose grant, right? It's this basic income. And then depending on how much you deliver to the organization, you get paid more. And this is also a natural selection mechanism for people who do not really contribute. So, and this is a big challenge because there's no boss and no manager looking at what you're doing and then making a judgment. So how can this be made fully transparent, made really beautiful, harmonious, and that everybody feels really that carrot in front of their nose is really pulling them forward to go just that mile further than what you would do without it. And how can the tool provide that? Because between people, it's very hard. And yeah, well, something like that. I don't know if you can share a little bit more about it, maybe not, but it's about, yeah, the payment of the contributors in the end. That's the reason.
Share a little bit because we're actually currently we're looking at that within Nestr itself. Like, so Nestr the organization, not Nestr the product. And I think it's really important to call out here that this is a really tricky one because it's about compensation, and I think it really should always be for each organization to figure out what that looks like and to really honor differences, both in how you want to do that, but also you're leaving, Ollie. See you. Good luck with the move.
I will watch the recording and I will listen for as long as I can, but I gotta go now.
Of course, cheers. But I really feel you. So, and I can talk to what we're doing within Nestr, the organization. And I think we're still probably a long way off of moving anything like that into Nestr. No, I shouldn't say that. I don't see what product offering should be built into Nestr the product right now, because there's so many ways to skin this cat.
It is a really interesting mechanism because as soon as you introduce scores, there will be people, let me put it that way, that want to increase scores, which is great because then if you all agree on the score and what it represents, it might actually help the purpose, but it could also be a thing in itself, and create competition. So in a way to do this, that represents what we're trying to achieve, it's going to be interesting. Like in a good way. I'm inspired, but I have no idea how to tackle that one.
And
I
also,
have some,
I'll go for Julio.
Yeah, I just wanted to contribute to that. There are actually, well, with the badges system in place, that would be already a very good way to assess skills, right? So if you have, for instance, a developer badge that has levels, maybe you are a developer level 1, and you could use what Holacracy has, badge-based compensation application that you can maybe based on the badges and have the circle define extra payments for people using the badges on their role assignments. So that could be one way to assessing the skills that are being employed into the pursuit of purpose. But also like to mention that we are starting to do some work with encode.org to create a system to map contribution and track units. So that could be leading Nestr to, if we integrate with that work, it could be possible to include in Nestr the compensation directives for your organization. So they will be able to, if you go to your workspace, maybe there's another tab for compensation, and you can specify like formulas or, you know, default values for contributors, and so that could be possible. And then you earn these units that are almost like tokens in the blockchain, and then can be converted to cash or maybe equity. So this is a possible idea for us to also integrate more with DAOs, because most DAOs are a great way for doing this. And in essence, this work with encode.org is actually going to turn Nestr much more looking like a DAO. So if you deliver some work or task, maybe you get paid in units, and you can convert these units to cash or to other blockchain tokens, or so there are a few ways to handle compensation directly inside Nestr, and that could be the future. Yeah, that's what I wanted to contribute. Joost, you also wanted to bring something?
Yeah, just quickly around, I think the challenge of compensation, because there's obviously a few competing interests that need to be condensed into an outcome. Somebody gets paid this much for whatever it is that they've done, and I think it's such a wonderful topic to really start unpacking the nuances of how we come and work together, and how much we are personally attached to how much we're paid, or not even so much how much, but if I'm paid more or less than my peers, and what that does to me emotionally when I see that on a piece of paper. Like, I think it is it's really tricky, and it offers a wonderful opportunity to unpack and actually grow. Why am I saying that? I think it's not the first thing to tackle when you move into self-organization in a tool, right? It really needs a lot of trust and space holding of your peers, right? If there's no longer a central boss that can just say it how it is, then there's a default to kind of just say, well, I actually don't think they're doing a great job, but I prefer not to confront them, so I'll just say it's great, and then they get paid a bit more. And actually that hurts purpose really bad, because it's going to run out of resources before you know it. So where's the voice for purpose? And I think that's a big part of what I heard in your question, and that's hard, and somebody needs to speak it.
Oh, that was a very interesting question. So there is another one from Alexander, new one. This talk got me curious about evaluation and peer assessment and vice versa. Circle members assessing the organization. Will Nestr support that too eventually?
Maybe it helps if I add a little bit of context.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are formulating the traineeship in GaiaNet for people who want to help build a regenerative future and learn self-organization. They can join GaiaNet, and for a minimum of 6 months, energize a role for GaiaNet, voluntary, and benefit from the learning experience. And we want to close off that period with a peer assessment, basically, so that someone can get assessed at the end of the traineeship to know, like, am I now a new Earth professional? Have I mastered heart conscious collaboration? And of course, the most beautiful way to do it is a peer assessment. How was the communication during meetings? How were you there for your fellow teammates? How's your understanding of the self-organization principles? Like, something like that I see emerge, as Nestr is really our home for everything we do in the organization. So I can imagine Nestr can play a role. Very curious for your vision around this. And lastly, it also goes vice versa. So I would also like the trainees to assess the organization, so that it's not just one-way traffic in that point.
I would almost turn it around. What would you like to see? Because it sounds like you've got a clear need. I would love for that need to be solidified, because we have some feedback forms, quite easy to change those or add those, but I would love to hear what the value is that you're looking for, so we can start crystallizing that.
Yeah, super nice, super nice. We identified 10 criteria. 10 assessment criteria. I just named a few examples. And I still have a few sessions coming up to drill down on the dynamics of this traineeship program. I think, frankly, for now, this is already enough. I can take this with me in those meetings and bring solid output from there back to you guys, saying, you know, ideally this and this and this is what it would look like.
Nice.
Then I think we can take it from there.
Yeah, so then FY, we have another customer that wanted a specific feedback form, and it was quite easy to build that for them. So we built that for them. So adding to that shouldn't be too hard, and it can fit the feedback app as it is. So I'd love to hear what that looks like. And what I foresee in the future is that we just have a customizable feedback form that you can just build yourself in Nestr.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a great way to start, for sure, a feedback form. And maybe after a while, once you get a bit more elaborate and with periodical reviews and these type of things, of course, you can always add on to it. It sounds like we could form a great start there.
I suspect this product is never done, so let's continue learning.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
one thing that we can also support in 2023, since we are adding customizable meetings, maybe we can add a meeting slice that is feedback. So it's a feedback-oriented meeting where you can, you know, give feedback to your peers in a circle, or create a tool for that. That's not asynchronous. Like the feedback tool right now is asynchronous. So we could have a synchronous meeting for feedback. So that could be a centralized, a space for doing this. Maybe that could be along the lines that you need. But definitely interesting to hear more about your needs. If you want to write an email or a document and shoot us with the feedback from your peers, love to hear that as well.
I'll follow up on that. It will be January. I'll have more insight in it. It's good that you bring up the feedback meeting. We have it integrated in our operating system in GaiaNet. So there's tactical weekly governance every 2 weeks, but there's also a feedback circle once in 2 months. Basically how you describe. So maybe it's nice to link that also to the feedback form, also capture what is shared immediately and maybe integrate that in the assessment strategy. So yeah, good stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you. I can work with this.
Exciting.
Cool. All right, this leaves us to the last question. Which feature are you looking forward the most in Nestr 2023, Joost? Maybe Joost or anyone from the team wants to answer.
I asked because there were so many things, and I was just wondering what you guys were thinking, because sometimes you read something and it triggers, and we already had discussions about 2 topics that turn out that maybe are bigger than, you know, something that we had in mind. So I was just curious.
Well, I can just speak to what my where I'm excited. I'm really curious to learn from others as well where that lies, right? But I'm instantly actually just which might almost sound mundane, but it's really to simplify the UI. That's so that we can make it really effing easy, because you still need to be a bit of a nerd to work your way through it sometimes, and I want to get away from that. And then on the other side is that idea of recruitment, right? So I kind of want to call it matchmaking, like, because that's really where the magic starts to happen. Like, I'm so exciting when it's so exciting to think about people finding work where they love the impact that they create. Yeah, that gets me excited. Nice question. Curious what others think.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited about that recruitment part as well, especially, you know, I always talk about badges because I really think that's going to enrich. I mean, being able to add skill badges to Nestr and to profiles is going to be really something to enable more interaction, especially if the badges are visible between different Nestr workspaces, and you can really see the community. So a kind of a social integration between workspaces. And so I'm really excited about that possibility. And yeah, so that's me. Anyone else from the team that wants to talk about the features they are more excited about? Or anyone from the audience as well, if you saw the features.
Sure. I mean, I'm also really excited about simplifying the UX and the UI. I think because I think there is a barrier right now that often, unless people have a certain amount of experience in self-organizing and a good facilitator, things like that, it can be quite challenging to really get the best out of the product. But I'm actually also really excited about potentially improving work in public. I think that if I take Nestr alone, I think there's so much that we're internally experimenting with and learning from, and just to bring that alone into more working in public, I think would be really exciting. And yeah, like the little I know of what's happening with GaiaNet, I think it's incredibly exciting and would be so much to be learned from. So the more that we have the ability to share more in real time what we're doing and how we're doing it, that's really exciting to me.
Anyone else wants to share about the feature that they are more excited about?
I would like to share some reflections about what have been listening. So you just mentioned in the beginning that we are in this collective learning of self-organization, and probably not one organization or community will solve all the problems. And I was remembering about Seed's gratitude book that Julio helped doing in Seeds. I don't know if many people know about it, but it was a way of encouraging good acts. So whenever you feel someone did a good act or solved a problem or something like this, you could mention this person and say why you think this person deserves gratitude. And this maybe is a step before the badges, and it's also a way of kind of rewarding people that did something, and because can also fit in things that are not invented yet or classified yet, like maybe something that is random, but after a while we can see a pattern in how it evolves. So I think it's a very interesting thing that we are able to have this conversation and cross-pollinations. Also, that's one of the reasons I would like to, I'll be in Discord weekly, hosting a place that we can have this kind of conversation and cross-pollination between workspaces. So you're very welcome. I set up a time for that, but if you cannot join on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. GMT, you can reach out to suggest other times. But yeah, I think we are all learning this together, and it's very good to have spaces like this and organizations that are very open to learn together and share their experiences. And that's all I wanted to share.
Hey, Diana, just wanted to compliment on what Diana said, that we forgot to mention that we are going to be launching the Discord server for Nestr today. So if some of you already joined, and we'll start having gatherings there after this event. We are going to have a cafe there if you want to join, or so we're having weekly events there and gatherings for the community. So thank you for remembering, Diana. At the end, we'll give more details about this. But Alexander, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, can I ask one more question? Just something that came to mind because of what was shared.
Yes.
Is there time for that? Yeah.
We are almost at the end of the time, so maybe that could be, I don't know if anyone had other questions. I think that could be maybe the last one, because we're going to do a break, and then after the break, we come for the community showcase. But go ahead, Alexander, the question then.
Yeah, just curious, for me, self-organization more and more becomes not only about work context, but also about people context. So for Holacracy, of tactical meeting, governance meeting are the basics, and they are now, covered in Nestr. But in GaiaNet, we notice we need more types of meetings, like the feedback session, but we also have a resonance meeting, recurring once in 2 months, project retroactive, strategy meeting. So I'm curious if you foresee that Nestr will also provide spaces for either these specific types of meetings or a more generic space where organizations can, keep track of their own additional self-organization meetings.
Yeah, so that I love that, and that's really that idea of customizable meetings is that is underpinned by a template, and you can make multiple templates. So in the end, the governance meeting or tactical meeting is just a template, and you can build more with different parts of it. So you can't just yet, but that's the promise of that feature that we want to be building in 2023, right? And where I get really excited is the idea of organizations making a template and publishing that template to be shared by others, right? How cool would that be? So hell yeah, let's do it.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, very nice.
Cool. So yeah, maybe we can do this break then. We're almost at the time for the community showcase, and so I call for like a 10 minutes break in because there's been a lot of talk already, and it's nice to stretch your legs and take some water, and then we get back to listen from you guys what you have been doing on Nestr to show to others how are you using the tool, and others can learn. So I'm going to pause the recording and we get back in 10 minutes. Okay.
See you guys in 10 minutes.
See you soon. Diana's voice is really similar to the one from the recording. So now we are back from the break, and for this second half, the idea is we'll do the community showcase to really see what is the community up to, how we are using Nestr, and talking more about your own experience. And after this, we'll have a closing round, and there will be a draw and some fun. So we have about 4 of our community members here that are going to be presenting. Let's see here the schedule for this. Hold on 1 second. Here. So first one, I would like to call Gustavo Grillo, from facilitator that's also assisting with the Symbiosis workspace. And so we have about 5 minutes for each of the presentations, 5 to 7 minutes. And if you have questions, I invite you to also use the Slido link for questions for the presenters. And then at the end of these presentations, all the presentations will take some time for going through the questions, okay? So Gustavo, you have the voice, if go ahead, the stage, go ahead.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Julio. As everybody can hear me well? Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I wouldn't call this a presentation or a case. I would like just to share some insights I had. As Julio told, he invited me to work with him at Symbiose, and when I arrived at this project, at this self-management adoption, Nestr was already there, so I really had no choice. I had I needed to learn to use it, and it was fun because I guess that with my experience with self-management, we use a self-management approach called O2, organic organizations, that is heavily based on holacracy and with something from agile development and GTD and stuff like that. But it's really similar to holacracy. And from the knowledge I had as a facilitator, as a O2 facilitator, I quickly, in a few hours, I was able to use Nestr. At least, I guess I don't use all the features and everything Nestr has to offer, but I could get on my feet really quickly. And I think this is what I loved about Nestr. Up to today, I can't use everything, but I can use anything I need really quickly, and I think that is great. That when you guys talked about the improve the interface, and the interface will be only for nerds. I guess I'm a nerd because I only using the knowledge I had from facilitation, I could I could map my knowledge really quickly with Nestr, and it was quite similar. So I think this is a very good thing when you can use the skills outside of the tool you are using to learn the tool. That is great. So this is the I guess this is the case. And just not to be talking about all the good things, I think one thing that really got it in the way of people at Symbiose learning was that when you had a metric, you had someone linked to that metric, a person linked to that metric. So people got confused because they thought they would be responsible, but in a more traditional management kind of way of being responsible for that metric. They thought their manager would be looking at the metric, and they would be responsible for tipping the pointers on that metric. So that got people a little confused. I don't know, Julio, there's anything else we talked about to share here?
Well, if you want to briefly show the workspace, the circle structure, just that could be great so people can
Okay.
see.
Let me just find it here.
Yeah, because Grillo mentioned, so I was also helping facilitating self-organization for them, and I invited Grillo to assist because there are quite a few circles, and they started with 60 people. Now I think there's a few less people. But yeah, go ahead, Grillo.
Around 35, 40 people now, I guess. So this is the roles and what. Let me show something like this.
Maybe you can zoom in at the circles, the circle interface, so people can see or whatever you prefer.
Yeah, you see, I'm not. I'm making that the case here for not being really good at navigating the interface. So I don't know what else should I show.
Yeah, so whatever you feel like. Maybe you can click the zoom button on the left close to the circle just to zoom the circle in so people can see the structure. This one.
This
So you
is
have
the
3 circles, subcircles, and yeah.
yeah. This is the Symbiosis structure nowadays. Symbiosis is a IT consultancy company. They they allocate people into projects for their clients, and they are starting to develop some products of their own. So today they are mostly a services IT consultancy. Yeah, I guess that's it. This is
Cool. Okay.
the main circle, whereas most of the developers, most of the people are in this artisan, which would be craftsman role.
Cool. Yeah, so if you have questions later, you can add that to the Slido link that we shared, and then we can move to the second presentation. Is that okay, Grillo? Do you have anything else to?
Yeah, I guess that's all. If there's any question, I'm around here for 10 more minutes. Thank you,
Cool.
guys.
And next one, we can go to Alexandre from GaiaNet. I want to present workspace and how you have been doing on Nestr. Welcome,
Yes.
Alexander.
Yeah. I thought what probably works best is if I share my screen and just show you how we've been using Nestr. I understood that that's probably the most interesting way to approach this. Little disclaimer, I am not the Nestr domain owner in the GaiaNet organization. That's this other guy over here. So Dan, please, when you have something to add, feel free to jump in. I'm just going to show this from a user perspective and well, also circle lead role. You know, I really start to embrace that role, understand that role, and also understand the importance of Nestr in being able to work with that role. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen. Maybe share a few key elements that that are especially interesting to me. Maybe starting with, I just briefly want to show the new Earth. Oh, here I need to click for the circles. I'll expand this. So I thought you would find this interesting to see. This is GaiaNet. General company circle, inside the integration circle, inside GaiaNet, with here the advisor circle. And here community circle that we were about to open up. Actually, we decided to wait with that. So this one is taking a while longer. What I specifically wanted to show is here on the left side is we started to map the new Earth inside Nestr. So the way we look at new Earth is through Barbara Hubbard's Wheel of Co-Creation. So you see 12 circles, science and technology is one of these circles of new type of solutions we need for the world, justice and restoration, environment, food and water, etc. So projects inside our network and projects that Dan referred to, the 25 test cases for putting projects together around a tactical meeting format, we all map that inside Nestr. So here in instead of roles, there's project names. And instead of a circle, there's an area of development of new socioeconomic models. So just to show the fun way where we took a meta level perspective and put projects around the table in a tactical meeting format so that they could hear, you know, they're all working on similar areas and they can learn from each other, share resources, etc. Thought it would be fun to share that. Now, I can get back to my home screen. You see, I'm not. Wait, here I can make it small. Okay. GaiaNet. Why is this all the way on the right? I need the help desk.
Maybe just reload, bug.
Yeah,
demos.
that's probably probably easiest. Yeah, there we go. There we go. So I'm not gonna go through every detail. Maybe it's fun to show like my basic route. I know when I go onto Nestr, I need to first click governance twice to get to where I actually need to be. So GaiaNet workspace, and then I know, okay, governance, integration circle, unless I need something for the advisor circle, but that's once in 3 months with advisor meeting. So mostly it's in the integration circle, and then I immediately go through governance to the general company circle. One thing I use personally a lot here are all the roles, as I'm sure you know. We added labels here. So for example, this role's ad interim. It means that for me as a recruiter, I need to find somebody new for this role. Like Alexander's currently doing it, but it's ad interim. So that's how we use some of these labels. Ad interim, and here's also vacant, vacant, vacant. So for me, both as circle lead and as recruiter, that really helps to see the overview of what's going on in the team and where should we recruit. In the about section, we've listed our strategy. So we went through a strategy session with help of Christiani, so Schuler, to define our strategy in the holacratic format with like the even over. So there's 6 very important elements, and we decided which ones are important even over other important ones, and that helps us to prioritize our own next action steps. In the work section, we track our projects. So here you can see role Bridger of Worlds, which is energized by Dan. As these 2 projects now in progress, it's in a waiting status. Circle lead consultant, and you see the name of the project, and we're looking to define the outcome in these teal labels. Sorry, I didn't mean to click on that. So really what will be delivered with the project. And this overview we also use for the tactical meetings where the facilitator calls out the projects, and the person working on it can give update what's new since the previous meeting. Then to-dos we use a bit. I'll show it later when we look at the meetings. Metrics and checklist, very basic in this moment, but that's nothing to do with Nestr. It has to do with GaiaNet's maturity and understanding of what do we actually want to track and how can we measure that. Just want to show the meetings area. This has been a very important one for us as well. I personally am really a type of note taker, always capturing value, you know, and making sure decisions, action points are nicely captured, shared with the team. Everybody knows what's up, even people who were not in the meeting. So I was very positively surprised finding this feature in Nestr. Yeah, I guess you know how it works, so I don't need to like demonstrate how it works. In general, it goes very smoothly. So during the tactical meeting, we have this screen open. The facilitator facilitates a meeting, and the secretary, which in this circle is my role, works with this page, opening the agenda items, and some agenda items require, you cannot see it now, require to do. So following up with a to-do, and those are all shared with the team so that people who are also not in the meeting can see what was going on. That's been going very smoothly for us. And of course, the to-dos are again visible in the system. Yeah.
Just would like to mention that we already went through the 7 minutes, but if you want to wrap up, maybe.
This is it. These are really the main parts of Nestr and how we use it that I wanted to highlight. Yeah, there's a question. I'm open to it, but this concludes the parts that I really wanted to share.
Yay! Thank you so much, Alexander. That was great to visualize. And then if anyone has questions, you can post them on the Slido link, and we go over them later. Next one is
just a few
sorry, go ahead,
sentences.
Dan.
Sure. So before we were using Nestr, we didn't have a tool to self-organize, and we were using Google Docs, and we were using Notion, and it was all in different places. And it was a bit of a switch because we had to let go of some habits, right? But the more we use Nestr, the more time we save. And I think it's like combined with our video tool, we use circles for that, which is a circular space with different people. The combination of those tools is extremely powerful. And we started to help a Belgian team earlier this year to help them self-organize. And yeah, also with them, it was quite a chaos where all their information was. And the more they used Nestr, they also had some resistance because of the difficulty of using the tool initially. But they're getting accustomed to it now. And you can also see that how incredibly excited they are about Nestr. Also, yesterday, we closed off our 6-month program with them. And they said, without Nestr, we would not be where we are now. And Nestr has actually gifted this to Samenzorg in Belgium to use this tool for their operation because they're so, yeah, it's a nonprofit and it's a really beautiful project. And a lot of gratitude to Nestr also from Samenzorg for, yeah, the gift to use this tool and also for them to make a real beautiful impact in the world.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. So next one is Pedro from Alira in the clinic, and there is the workspace. It's a Brazilian customer using Nestr as well. So welcome, Pedro.
Hello there, guys. Great honor to be here. My name is Pedro Barbieri. I'm one of the owners of Clínica Lira, and I'll be sharing with you guys some details about our use case of Nestr until here. As I said in chat, I thought we would have a little more time, so I will try to be as brief as possible. Okay, and I will also be needing the screen. So can I share it, Julio?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Wait a second. There we go. So hope you guys are seeing it. Okay. So my plans for today agenda is make a quick introduction about Clínica Lira, explain how we used to organize ourselves before Clínica Lira adopted Nestr, how it is now, and how our adoption process went in this time. Our purpose as an organization is we exist to welcome, care for, and transform the lives of women with endometriosis and pelvic floor disorders. Our mission is to welcome, care for, and oh, the text is repeated over here, so I was just sorry. Our mission is a world where all the woman is free from endometriosis and pelvic floor disorders. And we do this with healthcare, assistance, service, education, and other improvements for the life of this woman. Among our group, we have physicians, we have technology people. It's a very diverse group of people. So our history with sociocracy began with a small group 2 years ago, gathered around the book Many Voices, One Song. We used help of an external consulting group that helped us implement the first steps among the business partner, me included. So we began with some small circles over there. And then we established the first tools and repositories with the senior collaborators of the organization. And as somebody else said before, we also use Google Docs for role description. We already had, before Nestr, we already had all the roles kind of mapped up with objectives, responsibilities, requisites, and performance criteria defined for each one of the roles in the organization. And we use Trello for project management. So this is the 2 snapshots of how we used to make it. So we used to utilize Miro as a tool. It's a great tool. We still use it for other ideation and creation process, but we use it as the tool, the official tool to represent the organizational design we had in the clinical era. You guys will see that I speak a lot freely when I'm not talking about medical terms, because I'm not a physician, I'm an economist, and every time that I need to say something that is kind of medical in English, it's a problem for me. So like endometriosis is hard already. But when it's about business, it's kind of easier. So this is how it used to be for us. We had a lot of Google Docs spread out in out of the organization. This is not bad. They were kind of structured. We had some structure on them, but it's not visual. And we still use the Google Docs whenever we want to make ideation about a role or a circle. But we know that today Nestr is the place where we can reliable relate to all this design. And as a ritual management and project management, we used to use Trello and simply Google Agenda. So Trello we use simply Kanban, so a column for each thing, and in every meeting, the secretary of the meeting would project the Trello and we would go through the meeting. And for check-ins and stuff, we used to use like Google Agendas simply. And nowadays, all the meetings are done through the Nestr without exception. So every time a meeting begins, everyone joins Trello, click on the left upper part, join the meeting, leaves a feedback afterwards. In the checking process, the facilitator actually calls everybody in for the checking everybody, and the process goes really smooth. All the Trello boards that we used to have, they are now really obsolete. And it's still a great tool, but we don't use it for this anymore. How it is now. So this is a print screen of our organization nowadays. This is our circle. We have the main circle, we call it the mission circle. The clinical leader mission circle is the larger one. Then we have the general circle. I'm the activator or operational leader of the general circle. And then we have a lot of circles inside, with some of the circles have operational papers in the circle, and all of them without exception have what we call essential papers. Then there's the secretary, the facilitator, operational leader. All the circles are well defined as the concepts used to define in the organization. We have 38 people using Nestr. They vary among physicians with the highest degree of education and people that on the business as usual acts on in the front desk. So everybody now use it, as I say, is a widespread of diversity. Brazil is a really diverse country, and we managed to put everybody inside Nestr, and everybody in the organization has at least one paper. We, as you can see, we have a lot more papers than people. I think that it came with the job, right? And we have 12 circles. Nestr nowadays is used as a holistic management tool. So every time someone needs to make like an ideation about, oh, we need to create a new circle, we should change this in the organization, we should change that in the structure. People already have even their own workspace on Nestr where they can fully iterate and test other organizational design that would work best before leaving a proposal on the official circle meeting that happens every week for us. For project management, we migrate from Trello to Nestr. We don't use it to manage tasks on each project, so we only use it to kind of map the big projects each circle has towards the OKRs we established. And nowadays, these OKRs are not inside Nestr as well, because we understand that it's a different methodology and is not. We can put metrics, but OKRs we don't use it in Nestr yet. My point of view on our utilization profile today is that Clínica Lyra already had a high digital transformation level before we started, and we already had a high level of structure, and this made it a lot easier when we found Nestr. We were also looking at other platforms and other tools that propose themselves to help with this, and Nestr was the perfect tool in our point of view. The adoption process, this snapshot of my team yesterday. Yesterday we had Brazil games and an event over here. So this is a snapshot of my team. We had an implementation group of 4 collaborators acting directly on the implementation process. 2 external consultants. Great, they helped it a lot on fitting what we used to have on Trello and other stuff to our current reality on Nestr, and it was a lot easier with them. And also Julio, who invited me to be here. Thanks, Julio. We didn't have many direct contacts, Julio and me, but my team had a lot of contact with Julio, and they told me it was essential for the implementation process to run smoothly. The implementation details we took along. We took something like 120 days for full implementation process from scratch, from the first talks with Julio to the whole organization engaging on the go live event. And after we made the go live event, everybody, of course, it's a live process. We're still adopting new tools, and we still have some things that we can manage to take to Nestr, but once we made the go live event, the whole team, the whole organization joined in, and this is really important for us in the process. And I think that would be it. I would like to finish thanking Julio and the whole Nestr team for this. As I told, we searched and went through a lot of tech before choosing Nestr, and we know that technology and SaaS services, they work on the constant evolving basis, but it's great to know we have a partner that think like us and can help us like that. That would be it.
Thank you so much, Pedro. Yeah, amazing presentation. So
I can hear you.
What? Sorry? Did you want to say anything else, Pedro? Okay, can you hear me? Okay. So yeah, well, I mean, we are a bit stretched with time, so if there are questions later for Pedro, we can go over them. And we have one last presentation that actually is recorded because Luz couldn't be here today because it was too early for Canada time zone. But there is a recording from Ian Martin Group, which is one of our workspaces and customers. So I can quickly show you. Oh, hold on. I'm going to be sharing. Hold on. Yes. Can you see the video?
All good.
Okay. Hopefully you can hear the audio as well. Let's see.
Hi, Nestr community. My name is Luth Iglesias, and it's very early where I live in rural Canada, so I am pre-recording this video about how we at Raise, the Ian Martin Group, came to be part of the Nestr community. Raise, which is part of the Ian Martin Group, is a certified B Corporation. We have been self-organized for the last 7 years. We're a Nestr user, and we are headquartered in Canada. And before the pandemic, we were a community of about 250 employees working primarily in 2 countries, Canada and India. And at that scale, it was pretty easy to know your neighbor, know what their role was, how they were doing with their work. And we were primarily in office, so easy to develop relationships and know what each other were up to at work. But we were really fortunate throughout the pandemic to grow our business very significantly. And today we're about 500 employees in 6 different countries: Peru, Ghana, India, the Philippines, Canada, and the US. And at this size, we started to find that it was much more difficult to get to know each other. Also, we're now primarily remote, as well as to keep track of who does what roles do people hold, what accountabilities do they have, are they getting good timely feedback about their performance and their growth. And that's why we turned to Nestr to help us facilitate that, to have a place that we could capture information about our organization and our roles. So here you can see how we're organized, circles inside of circles, and I'll point out a few different things that we're doing in Nestr. One is we have encouraged people to describe themselves. I'm opening up this tool or the page for my coworker Haroon, and you can see here he has recorded his personal purpose and a bunch of information about himself, how he likes to work. So maybe if I'm having my first conversation with Haroon, I can look him up in advance and get to know him a little bit, get to know what makes him tick by reading what he has said about himself. A second emphasis for us is role-based information. So I'll show you one of my roles here on the people and culture team. In teal stewardship, I've recorded here my role purpose, my role accountabilities, and some metrics that I track. So someone that doesn't know what this role is about could come here to learn about me about my role. And the third thing that we're emphasizing right now in Nestr is peer-to-peer feedback. We worked with the Nestr team to customize a form where employees can give each other keep, stop, start feedback. So keep doing these things, stop doing these things, they're not productive, and start doing these things so that you could contribute more. And we have right now, actually today and tomorrow, an all company event where people are giving each other that type of feedback on their intact teams and recording it in Nestr, as well as recording their learning goals for the year ahead. So that's some of the stuff that we have been doing in Nestr, and wish I could be with you, but I'm probably asleep in bed, and I hope you're having a wonderful event together.
Yeah, that's the Ian Martin group, Razor, and it's. Oh, I was noticing that they use the feed to do this what they call the high five, and it's very similar to the gratitude that Diana was mentioning. So you can praise people for doing great stuff, and even though you're not sharing gratitude currency, but you're still encouraging feedback and celebration on the organization. So. Yeah, that was great. And now we can go over questions. Let's see if we have some. I think we have two. So there is one to Pedro from Yoast. Do you want to ask that, Yoast, the question that you have?
Yes, and I see that Peter already answered it actually in as a follow-up question, but I'll rephrase the question so for people watching the recording. So I was curious if the boards, so you talk about a Kanban board, if you use a default project board or if you use a custom board feature that Nestr offers. Just curious.
Currently, we use the default board over here. So for each circle, we have this board, and we just created the titles of each column.
Yeah,
this we customize, and for tasks we actually, it depends on each person where they prefer to manage tasks, but all the projects are managed here in this board, and we just translated what we think we need.
Awesome, thank you. Wonderful.
And as the person in the video told, we also are trying to encourage people to describe themselves on their roles.
Sweet. Nice. And by the way, if there's any questions about what Luz was telling and the raise implementation, I've been quite closely involved with them, so I can answer questions if there's any.
Yeah. So we have any other questions for the presenters before we move to the closing session? How are we today?
I just want to celebrate it. Like maybe I want to just share one tremendous gratitude. It's so wonderful to see that that we are contributing even a little bit to the impact that all these organizations are trying to create in the world. Like that just fills my heart. Like this is what we do the work for, to make self-organization and creating impact at scale a little bit easier. So how cool. Yeah, I just want to share a response.
Anyone else? Last comments or feedbacks? I'm also very excited to watch all this and to know that we're growing, and lots of people are really enjoying and making their lives at working in their organizations better in many ways. So yeah, it's really heart feeling. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to celebrate you and Nestr and all the work you've done in your whole life. And also for the audience and the recording, that you've not just been helping us with implementing Nestr, but you've been helping us with getting better at self-organizing in general. And Yoast has been a tremendous guide for us, and I can really say that it's factual that since you came into GaiaNet, everything has changed. We've completely reorganized. We've deleted all the roles because you said, hey, you guys are not talking from your roles. And we went really deep into holacracy and officially adopted the Constitution now. And yeah, we're feeling that what was lacking at the time is now in place, and the organization is really solidified. And now also when new people are coming in, we created training material. We have the whole onboarding route for them, and we pretty much solved, of course, it's never solved, right? But we've solved power play and emotional games within GaiaNet. And we've been struggling with that for 2 years. So big shout out to Joost for all your wisdom, and also to Julio and everybody in this field, of course, but your wisdom goes way beyond tooling support towards the people that you serve. And that's very genuine and authentic and very rare in general in the world. So I just wanted to really celebrate and call that out today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Carolyn, you want to share?
Yeah, I'm in the United States. It's early for me too, so apologies for missing the beginning. But I'm newer to Nestr, and I'm not new to decentralized work and self-organization. That's been me since like 2007. So it's very inspiring. It's great to take some steps into the community here. I hope everyone feels energized and proud, because what little I've been able to take away looks really cool. There's a lot of big conversations and a lot of detailed things that can make all the difference. I've worked with some softwares and self-organization practices in the past. Some of you all have mentioned some of them. So I just wanted to say hi and thanks a lot. I really appreciated this gathering.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so then I would like to call us to this closing part of the event, also celebrating very much about the great contributions that we had today and great discussions, and hoping that this is the start of a community, right, where we can have this kind of discussions whenever we want. And actually now we have a new tool for that, that is Discord. So you probably heard of Discord, and it's a kind of a communication tool that you can use to communicate to your community. And we have created this server to serve you. And we have some channels that are going to be filled with the content, and we invite you to participate as well. So basically, when you join, you have the announcements channel for news that are regarding Nestr and new features and new things that are happening. The landing part is where you learn about community rules and welcome to say hi to people, you know. And the events channel is for announcing events. We're going to be announcing events, not just Nestr events, but other events of the community. If you want to use this channel to go ahead and announce. We also have this place that we call the Nestr Cafe, which is it's a voice space where you can join and talk to other Nestr users. We plan to have gatherings weekly. Diana, you want to maybe talk a little bit about this? She mentioned briefly, but if you want to talk more about Discord and how you plan to facilitate this.
Yes, so it's what I briefly mentioned before. The intention is to have it weekly till the end of this year. Will be on Wednesday, 6 p.m. GMT. If this time doesn't fit you, let me know and we can manage other timings as well. So you can join whenever you want, stay whenever you want, invite other people, and have time to chat if you want to, or someone in your team wants to have some support or ask questions. This is also a place to do it, and yeah, to cross-pollinate and extend this kind of conversations we're having here.
I'm pasting also to the chat the link to join Discord, to our Discord, if you're not there yet. And the last part of Discord that's going to be experimental, and we want to maybe grow with this as the community there grows, is the, well, matchmaking. Matchmaking is where we want for you to offer, you know, if you know about Nestr and you want to offer help for other people seeking for facilitation, tool support, or even organization design, you can go here and say, hey, I'm available, or I'm needing someone with these skills. So you can use this matchmaking for already start to do that. And if you have questions, you can use the support channels, the web support for the web application, if you're using mobile, and if you want to ask about the Nestr bot, there's even a support talk channel you can join and answer your questions more directly. And some channels for DAO support, if you are using a DAO and you want to, you know, talk about how Nestr integrates with DAOs, this is the place. So that's almost all. But before we close, we have the draw that everyone is everyone is excited about, I hope. And we want to announce that we'll be doing offers from time to time to the community. And because we value your contributions and we want to really see this growing, right? And so we created this spinning wheel with the name of everyone that subscribed to the event. Yeah. So this spinning wheel has the names. Let's see if anyone is not here. I think Dan is not on the list. So let me add Dan to the list. And
Don't see Alex. Don't see Alex.
Oh yeah, Alex. And yeah, some people have subscribed, but they wasn't able to join. But anyway, they could still be eligible for the draw. So the idea for this draw is to we have considered 3 offers, and we want to get people. So the idea is, first we are offering self-organization like sessions from Joost and from myself to have a 1-hour session with your organization, so we can maybe deepen the understanding about self-organization or any other needs that you have for tool support. Or of course we are always open for help and assistance, but we are offering 1-hour meetings with the organization, and we will be available for this to do a customized service to fit the needs, right? So the first and then the last one of the draw is going to be a 20-seat 50% discount for the Nestr price for up to 1 year for the first year. So it's also targeted for organizations that are wanting to use all the features for Nestr, and the price is going to have this 50% discount. So I'm going to start then with the first offer of self-organization consultancy with Joost. So here's any questions on the draw before I go ahead and do it?
No, do it. Go.
Stop stalling.
Okay, everyone is excited. Let's see.
I hope it's with Ted Rao, by the way. That'd be wonderful. I'll tell Ted Rao to do it. Woo!
All right, Alan Rocha. Alan is from a little clinic, so
Awesome.
They have received this offer for Joost to do 1 hour.
I look
Next
forward
one
to it,
is,
guys.
yeah, great. Next one is on me, 1 hour self-organization consultancy. Let's see. Oh, actually, let me hide Alan so they don't get the prize twice, and then go for another spin. Ta-da-da. All right, Felipe. Felipe is, I think he's always also from GaiaNet, or no, he's from another.
No,
Yeah,
it's from Gaia
Oh,
Union.
Gaia Union, correct? Yes. So I'll reach to him and say that he was selected for this offer. Next one is the 20 seats with 50% discount up to 1 year. Let's see who gets that. Erika Coelho. I forgot the organization she's in, but definitely let them
Evolution
know.
Club, right?
From what?
Evolution?
Oh, maybe, yeah, correct. From Evolution. Great. So I will talk to them. Cool. So that was the draw. I hope you got excited with this as much as we did. And yeah, we are about the end of the time. So just wanted to already also mention that we'll be continuing on the Nestr Cafe. Now, if you want to join Discord and keep talking, if you have some more time or just want to chill out and chat. And then we'll have these weekly gatherings. We will be, Diana mentioned, there is a time already for that on Wednesdays. And everyone is welcome, 6 p.m. GMT. So thank you so much. And yeah, any other final remarks or questions or comments before we close?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thanks for organizing. Thanks for joining. And I'm going to bed.
All right. Bye then. I'll
It
see
was a
you on Nestr
pleasure.
Cafe.
Thanks,
Bye.
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. Great to see
Bye-bye.
you. So much.
Likewise.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.